This video is going to focus on meeting provisions. I've given this video the title of The Art of Meeting because when we decide to have meetings, we are trying to bring minds together, to think collaboratively, to communicate our thoughts and ideas, and to reach to a conclusion which has a certain impact and effectiveness on the decision-making process or the operational procedures of an institution. Meetings are not only important for schools. In most of the companies and organizations, large amount of time is dedicated for meetings, whether be it scheduled meetings, sudden meetings, strategic meetings. Leaders, they meet a lot during the day, and so much time is dedicated for those meetings. So why are those meetings important? How can we get the best of this time dedicated for the meeting? Why do we see sometimes meetings as a waste of time? How can we have efficient meetings that yield results, have an evident impact, and are continuously connected to the strategic direction of the school? I would say get it correct from the start. If we're looking at the organization, there is a certain purpose for its existence. If it's a school, it's the guiding statements, it's the guiding definitions, it's the mission, it's the vision. If it's an organization, there is a purpose that stands behind the existence of this organization. This is one aspect that we have to keep in mind when we're thinking about any meeting. And number two, which is the plan. We have an improvement plan for this organization. We have a strategic plan for this organization. So when we are trying to call for a meeting, those two should be in front of our eyes, and we have to ask ourselves, why are we meeting? What is the purpose of the meeting? How is it going to help us? If we do not find logical answers for those, then there is no point of conducting a meeting. Whenever we have a board of trustees meeting, an inspection or an accreditation body coming into our organization, they ask for artifacts, pieces of evidence. Meetings, agenda, minutes of meetings are very important, if not the most important, because reading through those documents will clearly indicate how we are using our time wisely, how we are disseminating the information, cutting down those improvement plans, translating our vision into practical instruction that guides everyone among our team. So if we think about the meeting agendas and meeting minutes wisely, then when it comes to providing the evidence, our documents are strong and they can speak for what we do. This video will have 4 focus points. Number 1, we will talk about the meeting provision. Number 2, we will talk about meeting agenda. Number 3, we will talk about the mechanism of running the meeting. And number 4, we will talk about stages of meeting management. I'm not going to get into templates because you have so many out there, but I'm going to talk about the thinking behind it, which is the most essential. So what's the meeting provision? Faculty, senior staff, and other staff meetings are conducted in order to develop friendship among staff. And when I talk about friendship, I'm talking about collaboration, communication, speaking the same language, reading from the same page, agreeing on the most important actions and procedures. The second part is to provide opportunity to focus on professional development. When we sit and we talk, we are learning from each other. We are communicating and building on the expertise and experience of one another. So we are developing our skills one way or the other. We are talking about next steps and to solve different problems and make decisions, which is the essence of having a meeting. A team met, they discussed. So what's the outcome? What are the actions that will be taken? Who will be involved in implementing them? Who will monitor? How will we evaluate whether those decisions have been the right decisions or not? Shall we visit that some other time? Shall we assign checkpoints? I keep saying in all my professional developments given to leaders that the kick-off meeting, beginning of a year or an academic year, if it's a school, is your starting point. And all the other meetings should be connected. So we're talking about a chain. So yes, we have some different arising problems due to the day-to-day operation of the institution, but we have strategic goals that we want to achieve. So when we meet, we talk about resolutions of certain issues, strategies and procedures to solve different problems arising, and decision making in order for us to improve, in order for us to minimize the gap or to eliminate it completely. So those are the three main goals of conducting meetings. Let's look now into meeting agenda. As we said, this video is focused on the planning, what comes behind the meeting. So how to write a meeting agenda? Number one, create a title for the meeting agenda. The title should give the attendees a clear idea on what the meeting is all about. Avoid flowery or complicated words in the title and make sure that it is simple, direct, and informative. Number two, write the objectives of the meeting. Provide a clearly defined purpose why the meeting is being held. Today we are meeting to discuss this. Ensure that your objectives fulfill the SMART objectives criteria, where S stands for specific, M measurable, A achievable, R realistic, and T timely. If you would like to explore more about the SMART goals, then feel free to check other videos uploaded to this channel. Number three, identify the following information. So I need to make sure that I give certain responsibilities for people that are attending the meeting. So by then, everyone will take ownership of what is happening. So name the facilitator, who will be the person requested and requested for the meeting or called for conducting the meeting. Name the attendees. Specifically, try to include in your meeting agenda the name of the person, the job title or position of the one who is attending, and if applicable, the cohort, if there is a team who's going to be involved all together to attend this meeting. You need to include the date and the time, so determine the exact date and time when you would like to conduct a meeting. Ensure that all your intended participants are available and have ample time to prepare for the scheduled meeting. Specify the venue, the room that you will be locating the school meeting in, and definitely, as we said, make sure that the members involved, they have a role to play throughout the meeting. So it's not only disseminating of information. So assign a minute taker, identify who will take the minutes of the meeting, ensure that this person is well informed before conducting the meeting about the main points that would be discussed. Make sure that you have a speaker in your meeting agenda where you can appraise the people or that specific person who achieved the goals and targets outlined in the previous meeting, or who has done an outstanding job, and give some credit for those people or this person. And lastly, we will stop at the resources. Identify the resources, equipment, or facilitate that you are planning to use to aid your meeting. What is it that you will bring on the table with you rather than only talk the talk? Do you have a certain case study that you want to show your audience? Do you have your school improvement plan or the institution plan that you want to remind your attendees about, whether be it in a hard copy format, digital format? Make sure that you have resources to enrich the discussion, to guide everyone, and to try to inspire them about the things that you have prepared in advance. Make a draft on a schedule to outline the topics to be discussed. Remember, it's not a practice, it is part of a provision and a procedure. So outlining and scheduling the main elements of the meeting is a very important aspect to ensure that all objectives of the meeting are met in the specified time allotted as per your agenda. In addition, allot ample of time in the schedule for the arising topics which are not hooked to the previous meetings. So if you have a specific crisis or a problem that is arising or a new initiative, then you need to allow the different people around the table to give you their insights, the challenges, what they believe from their perspective will work or will not. And lastly, double check the meeting agenda before disseminating the information. Accuracy is very important in the sense of having my meeting agenda correctly planned will help me to avoid calling for follow-up meetings as I go, and will help me to spare the time to be more on ground or to do strategic planning rather than calling for follow-up meetings on daily basis. running the meeting. So when the whole group or cohort that you have called for arrives to the table, there are 3 stages that you have to be very mindful about from the beginning: the opener, middle, and the end. In the opener part, try to be very positive. Make sure that you talk about the general before you come to the specific. As we said, it's about the purpose of existence of that institution and the strategic plan. Make them know that this is not a random practice. This is planned, structured, and it is focused on the big picture, taking all different factors into consideration. Feedback from previous meeting reflections is very important. Talking about the achievement that happened from the previous meeting until this meeting will boost the morale of everyone around the table. The last thing here to talk about when we talk about the opener is to identifying all the main stages of your meeting. You're not the only person who is busy as a leader or as a person who called for that meeting. Everybody else has their own agenda and their plates are full. So make sure you define the expected time of the meeting and the main objectives that will be discussed during that meeting. Then you can kick it off and start. In the middle, which is the essence of the meeting, discuss the main objectives one at a time and define the time allotted for each objective. If you feel that the people around the table, they have very useful, practical ideas that might contribute to it, make sure that you have your reflective journals or use the technology by having your Padlets or Jamboard or any form where you ask them to give their ideas, but do not make a lengthy discussion the core of your meeting, because by then you will not be able to finish on time. Be specific in your questions. So for example, if I have 3 different people sitting, but the question that I am bringing is related only to one person, then direct it to him in order to save time and not to waste the time of everyone sitting around the table. Make sure that you close the discussion about one objective before you jump into the other one, and set your expectations clear. So I have this objective, this is the timeline that you are expected to complete it, achieve it. This is how you will measure the impact. This is when you will do the checkpoints, and we will come again to it at this specific moment. At the end, make sure that you wrap up your meeting by reminding everybody of the desired actions, in the sense of talking about the strengths that were discussed in the meeting, the main ideas that were brought to the table by specific people, the possibilities and the secondary factors which might contribute to the success or failure of those specific actions, the people who are in charge of implementing and who will be monitoring as well. Last but not least, talking about the tentative new ideas that everybody should think about before the coming meeting arises. One important note that I would like to bring here is related to the reflections. Make sure that all the reflections are in written. All specific instructions are in written, and the meeting time is wisely used to exchange, interact, collaborate, and communicate. Meetings are not gatherings. Meetings should be focused, targeted, action-based, and helpful, where everyone leaving the room is able to say, this is my takeaway from the meeting, this is what I should be doing, this is how I will guide my other team members in order to contribute to the achievement of the improvement plan and the achievement of the purpose or the guiding statements of the institution. Stages of meeting management. Plan the meeting. When we are talking about the meeting management stages, then we're talking about the agenda, running the meeting, and post of the meeting. So at this point, you need to select the most appropriate form for the intended meetings to be completed and moderated based on the attendees themselves. Some people might look into this step as having a connection or an analysis for previous action items and current meeting topics. Or it might be about miscellaneous information that are received from different parties, stakeholders, or people that are involved. Completing the minutes, and this is very critical. Once we talk about a concluded meeting, then there is another stage that we have to think about, which is the minutes taken during that meeting. Remember, when we were speaking about the stages related to how to write a meeting agenda, we said that there should be a minute taker. But during that meeting, the person running the meeting should keep a track of the main actions that were discussed in that one. So by then, while reviewing the minutes received from the minute taker, the person who called for the meeting can either confirm that, yes, this is what I have specifically requested, or modify, edit, and tweak to make sure that the person who called for the meeting is sticking to his words and the promises given in that specific meeting. One note about the minutes. The minutes will guide the practices. The minutes will guide the different people involved in the actions and decisions that were taken. So the language of the minutes of the meeting has to be very user-friendly. If I want my team members to implement correctly, I will not put for them sophisticated words, tricks, or riddles. I will put it straightforward. The actions should be straightforward, outlined in a user-friendly language. Anybody who can read can implement. There is no kind of misunderstanding that might arise. The second point, the minutes should be connected to the improvement plan. So, for example, we have discussed an initiative because we have to intervene and speed up the achievement of target 1 in the plan. So it's not random and it's not ad hoc. Circulating the minutes. Before we confirm that the things discussed should be put in practice, we have to get the agreement from everyone who was around the table. And so many leaders, due to the time constraint, they skip this point, and then the implementation and impact will not be meeting the expectations. Sometimes, due to the time constraint, we tend to conduct a meeting, expect the execution. No, it doesn't happen like that. Minutes should be circulated, first of all, to get a written confirmation from everyone who attended the meeting. They have to give you a written agreement that, yes, this is what we have agreed upon, and we confirm. After that, the minutes should be circulated to all the people who will contribute to the achievement of those actions. So the manager might be a person who attended the meeting, but his team will implement. So the team should receive a copy of the minutes, should know the deadlines, due dates, checkpoints, tools to be used, the actions that are stated for them to work on it and to meet the set expectations. So minutes of meetings should not only exist at the top management layer. Minutes should be shared and disseminated to everyone who contributes to the achievement of those targets and actions. Likewise, when we say that the action plan is a live document, minutes of the meetings are live documents. Remember, we said a meeting is part of a series of meetings that will occur according to a set schedule. So the minutes should be evaluated continuously, specifically writing next to the actions how those actions were implemented and put into practice. What's the impact? Is there a need for an intervention? Is there a need for an additional funding? What should happen in order for us to say, yes, this is a tick, this is the evidence, this is the impact, this is the change? Do follow-ups after meeting. If we're talking about a meeting with a board of trustees or a CEO, then this meeting might have so many different big thoughts and main actions to be taken. So if we are going to look at every sector who is involved in implementing and achieving the actions, then a series of follow-up meetings should take place. So by then, each department will look into their own contribution to the achievement and provide feedback for the progress done against achieving those targets. The last point that we will talk about here is about intervening and acting upon it. Every and each single action outlined in the minutes of the meeting should be actionable, achievable, specific, targeted. But let's be realistic. Can we achieve all what we plan to achieve? The answer is definitely no. And the reason behind it is the fact that so many factors play a role in the achievement of the set targets. So, when we consider our minutes of meeting a live document, then we will be able to track the progress, to evaluate the impact, which means that we can tell whether there is a need to intervene, there is a need for us to support further, or to restructure the planned actions in order to arrive to the destination that we aim to reach. Do not consider the meeting as a practice. Oh, it's a tick of a box. We have to have a meeting, so we plan for it, we call for it, we sit, we talk, and then people will exit. The meeting is a process. There should be a provision in place. There should be a structure. Stages should be followed. So by then, when you're coming to the coming meeting, you already have a base to build on. Any evaluator coming to see the institution will ask for minutes of meeting for every single person who is in the leadership position. The minutes of the meetings, meeting agendas, are a very important indicator of how organized we are, how professional we are, how strategic we are, and how do we use the time and resources effectively and efficiently. So as I started this video, I will end this video saying, get it correct from the start. Think about your improvement plan. Think about the purpose of the whole organization. Look into the areas of deficiency that you have. Try not to close your eyes in order to avoid seeing the shortfalls, and then design your meeting agendas and look into your meeting minutes to guide the practices that are happening. So by then, you will be getting it correctly from the beginning.